Most deaf. What do you call a man who refuses to be owned by a label, a passport, or the system itself? Now, imagine that same man standing at an airport counter in Cape Town, clutching a document most people have never seen, while officers close in like the walls of a maze. That man was Yassine Bey, formerly Mos Def, a voice of conscience who chose principle over comfort and paid for it with years of exile, bans, and silence. Tonight, we trace how an artist who once lit up stages became a traveler with nowhere to land, and why his return hits harder than ever. First, the shock. January 2016. A border agent examines a world passport, frowns, calls a supervisor. Minutes later, Yassine Bey is under arrest, accused of using fraudulent travel papers, accused of overstaying, accused of playing games with a sovereign border. He protests calm, tired, unshaken. To him, that passport isn't a gimmick. It's a statement. People before paperwork, humanity before lines on a map. But the law doesn't debate philosophy at departures. The verdict is swift leave in 14 days, and don't come back for 5 years. Exile, stamped and sealed. How did we even get here? Roll back to 2014 when he tries to re-enter the U.S. for a tour. Pulled aside. Vague issues, shows cancelled, promoters scrambling. No one says it out loud, but it feels like a message. We can't arrest your ideas, but we can close every door you try to walk through. And if you've followed Yassine Bey long enough, you know he's never been shy about naming the machine. From calling out state violence to questioning foreign policy, he kept telling inconvenient truths. Remember that brutal 2013 video where he submits to a force-feeding demo to mirror what hunger strikers endured in detention? It wasn't for clicks. It was a line in the sand. And the industry? Well, the industry doesn't love lines. It didn't draw. Before the bans and the headlines, there was something quieter eating at him. The feeling that Mos Def had become property, a logo, a product. Meetings where people talked about the brand, like it was a separate person. He chose to live as Yassine Bey, but contracts and marketing kept dragging the old name around like a leash. If you've ever felt your job title swallowing your real name, you know that ache. Add the pressure of being the poster child for conscious rap, and suddenly every move gets audited for purity. Collaborate with the wrong producer? Sell out? Take a role in the wrong film? Hypocrite. That cage is invisible, but the bars are real. So, he goes looking for air. South Africa. A place with a long memory of exile and return. A place where he hopes the noise might finally quiet down. For a while, it does. He performs. He writes. He walks his kids to school. He breathes. But the papers don't last forever. Extensions stall. Questions pile up. Why are you here? How long? On what terms? And when visitor turns into problem, he reaches for a passport that speaks the language of ideals instead of nations. The airport answers with handcuffs. Let's pause. What do you do when every road you take loops back to control? If you're Yassine Bey, you do something drastic. You retire on the spot. From custody, he says he's done with the music business, as it exists, with the film machine that chews people into content. He teases a final project and then vanishes. Dates slip. Albums are recorded but withheld. Why? Because streaming turned art into endless scroll, and the split was too deep to ignore. Pennies per play, oceans of data for everyone but the artist. So he chooses a different canvas. Enter Nagus, presented not as a file to farm, but as an experience you have to show up for. No download button, no playlist placement, just you, the room, and the work. Confusing? To some, sure. But that was the point. He wasn't chasing charts anymore. He was reclaiming the terms of engagement. If the way to keep the soul intact is to step outside the marketplace, then take the risk and step. Of course, he was never fully gone. Those years in the wilderness were dotted with flashes, verses with Black Thought, energy with Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, that spectral link-up on Kids See Ghosts with Kanye West and Kid Cudi. You could feel him moving like a shadow at the edge of the frame. Not retired, simply refusing to be seen on command. And then life, the real kind, breaks through. The loss of his mother, Sharon Smith, in 2023. The compass, who taught him where the non-negotiables live. Grief has a way of stripping everything down to the truth. What matters? What lasts? Who are you when all the stages go dark? And that's when the circle closes. The return. A new project forged with The Alchemist. Not a surrender to the system, but a reminder that you can speak without bowing. The voice is older now, more flint than flame, but still razor clear. He raps like a man who's seen every door slammed and found another path through the building. The critics who once called his choices career suicide look up and realize survival sometimes looks like refusal in real time. If you're keeping score, here's what it cost. Money, momentum, visas, comfort, mainstream relevance. Here's what it protected. A name, a mind, a way of making that didn't have to pass quality control at a committee table. Walk away from bad deals. Say no when yes makes you smaller. Take the ban, take the silence, take the long road, if that's the price of keeping your center. People like Dave Chappelle did it. Monique did it. A few brave ones always will. The machine keeps humming, but it doesn't own every song. So, what do we learn from Yasin Bey? That borders legal or cultural aren't just lines, they're tests. That fame is a trade, and sometimes the cost is you. That brand is the word people use when they're done saying your name. And that art can still be a sacred thing if you protect it like one. He didn't disappear. He chose to be where the cameras couldn't flatten him. And when he stepped back into the light, it wasn't with an apology. It was with proof. You can leave the market and keep the music. You can lose the platform and keep the voice. Maybe that's the real hook of his story. Not the arrest, not the bans, not the mystery of the missing albums, but the stubborn belief that a human being is not inventory. And if you've ever felt the world trying to barcode your soul, you already understand why he fought the way he did. Here's where you come in. If this journey made you think about ownership, about borders, about the price of staying whole, stick around. Drop a comment. What would you walk away from to keep your name yours? Hit like if you felt this, share it with someone who needs the reminder, and subscribe for more stories that refuse the easy version. Because some truths don't stream. You have to meet them where they live.